Well, Mr. Rove, welcome to the University of Albany.
Well, thanks for having me.
Well, as you know, this event tonight is part of the series called the World Within Reach Speaker Series, and it has been entirely produced, organized, directed by students. So my question is, what's your view of the civic engagement of students today in the United States?
Yeah, well look, there are programs like this that show a high degree of engagement and activity. I've really been impressed incidentally by how well this one has been organized and the involvement of students. I got to lecture to a class today on public policy, about 100 and some odd students. So, the organizers have been very accommodating and well organized, and that's important. I think there's a high degree of engagement, but I think it could be a lot bigger and a lot more across the country as I travel the country and see it. I like what I see, but I just see a lot of students who are engaged, but others who sort of are trying to figure out how and why they should be engaged. And it's really, college is a chance for people to pick something that they care passionately about and be involved in it and set their course for their life. I hope that programs like this encourage people to be more involved, whether it's in student government or student programs like this or community service programs, of which there are a vast number that would love to have more student assistance.
Students are always interested in how someone like you got interested in politics. When did you get interested?
I can't remember a time when I haven't been, but my interest was cultivated by my teachers. I had two teachers in high school in particular and one in college who really fanned the embers of political interest. And I think we all look back and see somebody like that in our lives. But I've always been involved in politics.
It's always nice to hear you refer to teachers. As a teacher myself, as a professor, it's always nice to hear a comment like that. A World Within Reach is the branding message that the university is using. And we're a state university, as you know, but we like to think that we reach beyond the state of New York. How important is globalization and global affairs to students today?
Well, I think, look, we live in a world in which, everything that we do is now on a much bigger and broader stage. I mean, 50 or 100 years ago, the factories in this part of New York competed with other factories in the central part of New York. Today, our enterprises compete with enterprises across the globe. Things that happen in a distant corner of the world have an almost immediate impact upon our country and our people. Think about the recent earthquake in Haiti. I mean, 100 years ago, we would have, days or weeks afterwards, heard news of this and, gone about our business. And instead, seen now the images as they were happening, it grabbed our consciousness and motivated people to serve, a neighbor in need in a very profound and powerful way. So, this University at Albany is going to, the people who go out of its doors are going to live in a broad world. And so being involved and knowledgeable about and aware of the rest of the world is absolutely vital to young students today.
Well, I know that you and Governor Dean have been doing this at a few universities now in the United States, maybe more than a few. Maybe there's some more coming in the future. What have you been picking up from college students?
Well, I hear a lot of concern about the future because they're coming to understand that the things that we do today, the price tag for them has to be paid by them tomorrow. The things that we fail to do today will affect them tomorrow. And so I sense a growing awareness by students that they should have a keen interest in the public affairs of our country because it will deeply affect their lives, for good or for ill.
So I have one last question for you. And going back to, say, 2004, 2006, did you imagine that you would have been on a speaking tour with Governor Dean?
No, and I don't think he would have either. But it's been fun to do, and it's, I hope, illuminating. We don't agree on a lot of things. We agree on some things. You'd be surprised how often we find ourselves in agreement. But I think it's a way for people to get a chance to hear different points of view and to see the kind of debate and dialogue that we can have about these issues, and then they can sort it out and come to their own conclusion.
Well, I can tell you that this university is buzzing and really excited about today and the coming debate that's going to be going on in about an hour and a half or so. And on behalf of the university, I want to welcome you And it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Well, thanks for having me, appreciate it.
Governor Dean, welcome to the University of Albany.
It's great to be here, thanks.
Well, I understand you had a great day so far, and I think the fireworks will come later.
Well, we'll see about the fireworks. I had a fantastic meeting with a political science class, political theory. You have some extremely bright kids here.
Well, that's great to hear because political science is under me.
Yeah.
So it's a great plug for Rockefeller
said the right
College,
thing.
right? Oh, you said exactly the right thing. So you probably know that this speaker series, which is called the World Within Reach Speaker Series, has been designed and conceived, produced entirely by students here at the University of Albany. So my question actually to you is, what do you see as the role of students in terms of civic engagement in the United States?
Well, first of all, civic engagement is critical. I'm going to talk about that tonight. This generation just elected their first president. This is extraordinary. More people under 35 voted in this past election than people who are over 65. So they know a lot about civic engagement. The most interesting thing about the way the lecture series is run is that students do everything. And I was just thinking about what great training it was to be a body person for a political candidate. So there's a lot of hands-on things that are going on at the university. It's not just academics, and I think that's great.
Well, that's great to hear, both about your impression in general and the university here in particular. Students are always interested to hear about the beginnings, political beginnings of public officials, and my question is, when did you get started in politics?
I got my serious start in two ways. I was in Burlington, and I was very involved in keeping the waterfront, which was being redeveloped from an old railroad yard, open to the public. And we wanted a bike path along the shore of Lake Champlain, which we eventually got done. We just did it by organizing people and putting pressure on elected officials, both local and statewide, to get it to happen. And the other thing that really helped me a lot is I got very interested in Jimmy Carter and ran and helped do his re-election campaign in 1980. He didn't win, but I got to know a ton of people in Vermont. I got some mentors who were older than I, who'd been in Vermont politics for a long time, who introduced me to a lot of people, and that's kind of what gave me my start in Vermont politics.
Some people are concerned that the United States, in terms of higher education, is losing its competitive edge. Do you agree with that? And what should the United States be doing, if anything, to compete more favorably in higher education, to make sure that our graduates are competitive in the world economy?
Interestingly, the thing that's hurt the United States the most, higher education, is the Patriot Act. After the Patriot Act passed, it was much harder to get top foreign students into the United States, and frankly, it was a lot harder to get American citizens who happened to be of foreign descent into the United States without humiliating strip searches and things like that. And they discovered, lo and behold, they could stay in India, and they had a great economy over there, and they could invest there instead. Now, what I'm hoping is that we'll be much more friendly to foreign students. We used to be the largest domicile in the world for foreign students. That's not true anymore. And we need to do that. We are a magnet still. Our higher education system in this country is still the best in the world. But we really lost a lot there, and we need to make sure that we attract the best and the brightest, not just from America, but also from foreign countries, in order to have this continue to be the mecca of education.
As you mentioned before, you and Carl Rove have been doing this debate at several campuses, and perhaps some more to go. What have you been picking up from the questions, from the students, from the engagement of the students at the various universities that you visited?
Well, the students are still very much in Barack Obama's camp, and it's a very interesting phenomenon. The students elected Barack Obama. As I said before, more people voted who are under 35 than voted over 65, and young people elected Barack Obama. He's the first president of their generation, much as though John Kennedy was the first of mine. And there's huge change. This generation is very different than my generation. They're not confrontational particularly. They want to work together, and they want results, and they want bipartisanship. And they're not Democrats, even though 63% of them voted for Obama. What they are is very inclusive, tolerant people who reject the kind of bigotry that goes on in some of the Republican rhetoric, particularly about immigration and gays. But they're fiscally more conservative than the liberal wing of the Democratic Party at my age. So they're up for grabs, but the Republicans are not competitive yet for them, because they've got to figure out what to do about that hate rhetoric on the far right.
So I have one last question for you, Governor. Go back to 2006, perhaps, or 2004. Could you imagine back then that sometime in the future you and Karl Rove would be on a speaking tour around the United States at universities and colleges?
No, I didn't quite imagine that, but it's been a lot of fun.
Well, thank you very much, Governor Dean, for your time. We look forward to the debate, and I think it's going to be a spirited one.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.